Alright, hi, welcome again to the Finding 20 Nights. Today we have some very special guests from the Japanese KarateDo Organization. We have Devin Parker and his disciples. So we're going to talk about what is karate, what it means to them, and why you should try it. And after you watch this, you'll be able to say you do know karate and you know karate. Okay. So Devin, how long have you been doing karate?
I've been doing KarateDo for about 18 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
My father started me when I was really young. I did take a short break when I was in middle school because I was a slightly rebellious kid and didn't really want to work out that much, and then I realized I needed to work out and I got back into karate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Samson, when did you start karate?
I started about this time last year, so I've been doing it for about a year now.
Mm-hmm. What made you want to start?
Well, I had done Wing Chun Kung Fu before this, and I knew I wanted to do a martial art, so I went down to the student org fair.
Mm-hmm.
And
good place.
Yep, I just joined the first martial art club I found, and it was
Really?
Devin right there.
So
if
you would have saw judo, you would have joined judo?
Yeah, I probably would have.
Well, you know, location. Everything's marketing.
Exactly.
All right, and Jacob, when did you start karate? What do you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, so I started the summer after my freshman year, so I've been doing it for about 2 years now. And I decided to join because I had a class with Devin, and he was like, "Hey, Jacob, you should just come try it out. It's a lot of fun." He came to class bruised one day, I think, from a tournament, and so I was like, "Oh, like you're actually fighting people," and so I decided to give it a shot, and I've really enjoyed it ever since then. So.
Right on, righteous. So when did karate actually come up, or at least as we know it? I mean, how old is it? Is it like ancient or?
The way that I understand it, around the time of the samurai invasions to Okinawa,
Okay.
That's about when karate started to form.
Okay.
And become very rigid in its stylistic formations. But our specific style was founded either in 31 or 39. Both are valid because in 31 the name was chosen by our founder, and in 1939 it was put into an organization and actually listed as a KarateDo class.
What does karate mean?
Karate itself can mean a lot of things. If you look just at the word karate, the kara in Japanese is the kanji for air or empty, and te is the kanji for hand. So loosely translated, it means open hand or empty hand. But that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people.
Yeah. It could be like, you don't have a weapon, or you strike with open palm. But we could, in the future we can always talk about it, but it doesn't, it might not even be what they really originally intended. But it's a cool name, and it makes you ask questions.
It does.
I think that's part of it. So Samson, so you're relatively beginner. What kind of terminology or things do you have to learn? Like when you're starting?
And the first thing they teach you is os, which you can look this up online. There's not a good translation of it, but it does mean an affirmative, like yes, I understand, or yes, I will do this. We use this quite a bit when we start class and we bow, os, or do you understand this, os. We use that for pretty much anything. And then after that, we start to teach just general like directions, such as mai, which meaning front, and such like that. And also in the moves, we have things like gary, which means kick, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So Jacob, what do you absolutely have to know first time walking into the class?
It's a good question. You mean
To
language-wise?
participate.
To
Not saying
participate?
like they're gonna throw you outside
Yeah.
and throw a bucket of water on you.
Yeah.
But like, what do you kind of need to know to follow
Mm-hmm.
what's going on?
You don't need to know any Japanese when you walk in, because we do a great job when we have beginners of saying the names of all of the blocks and strikes in Japanese first and then in English, to get everyone used to the terminology, and then eventually as you progress we phase out the English. But you don't need to have any prior knowledge to come enjoy our class.
Well, that's great. That's great. So as far as like how karate is portrayed in the media, like I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to bring it up. Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like? Is that realistic? Is it representative in any way?
There are some parts of it that are slightly representative, but the majority of it is Hollywood magic. The original Karate Kid movies were choreographed by Fumio Demura, who is, if I'm remembering correctly, a 9th dan in our style in Shito-ryu KarateDo. At the time, he might not have been a 9th dan. I believe he transitioned in the 2000s to our style instead of Goju-ryu. But he was Mr. Miyagi's stunt double, and he choreographed all of the fight scenes for the original Karate Kid movies, not the new one, where they do kung fu with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan.
But did they still let Mr. Miyagi get to punch some high school kids, or did the stunt double have to do that?
It was mostly the stunt double, but then
Man.
but
You're 90 years old, you want to punch some kids.
if you actually like look at pictures of them standing by each other, it's almost stellar how close they look when the makeup is on both of them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's another martial art I'm seeing, and I thought it was similar from an untrained eye. Taekwondo. What is the difference between karate and taekwondo?
So Taekwondo and karate come from different places. However, the origins of Taekwondo are kind of debatable, mostly because what we've been taught is that one of the founders of one of the larger styles of KarateDo, Shotokan, his name is Gichin Funakoshi. He went to mainland China and then around the Koreas and Vietnam, and he basically trained people in Shotokan and kind of influenced how martial arts grew in those countries. So if you look at traditional Taekwondo, it's very linear, very fast, kick-driven, and they love doing big moves with jumps. And if you look at Shotokan, traditional Shotokan, it is almost exactly the same. It is linear, fast, kick-driven. They do big jumping moves. There's actually people who come from Shotokan schools to our class, and the difference is very big in how we move compared to how they move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps that'd be good to kind of put it out there. So what are your basic forms? Or your basic, or styles or delineations of karate? Or at least your basic, the most common 3 or 4?
So there's 4. We actually teach it to get our black belt, we have a written exam where you need to know it, and you need to know a little bit about the other styles of karate. One of the largest is Shotokan karate. Then you have Wado-ryu karate. Both of those are kind of linear and very power-driven, kick-driven. Then you have Goju-ryu karate, which is kind of our sister style. They are more circular blocks and circular strikes. They focus on core strength and circular moves instead of only straight punches. And then you have us, which is Shito-ryu, and we take a little bit of all of that and we try to blend it because our founder studied with the founders of both of the lineages.
Okay. And those are the 4 styles.
There's a lot
There's three.
more.
The major ones you're probably going to counter, at least in the U.S. or Iowa.
You're going to hear a lot of different names as well. You'll hear like Shitokai, Kyokushinkai, and they're similar styles, but they're either ours are derived from them or it's a lineage thing where you have two brothers and the oldest one takes a specific name and then the other one takes a different name, and that's their karate.
Okay. Cool. So I noticed you guys doing kobudo and you're using weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you need to know for using weapons? I mean, striking without your hands, does that relate to having actual physical blunt object in your hands?
It's similar. The principles are similar, but it is very, very different. One of the things that Renshi Tim was saying today was if you use a certain strike, you have two hands on the bow and you have the middle point of the bow. A downward strike, if you are mostly using this front hand, you're just whacking someone with a piece of wood in your hand. But if you use the bottom hand and you're pulling, you get a whipping motion that hurts a lot more. So it's similar to karate in the fact that you use your entire body, but you need a little more awareness to your own weapon and how it moves with your body. So it's a little more difficult. We actually like people to have at least a week of classes with us before we put a bow staff in their hands, so that way they get used to moving on their own and then with the weapon.
Cool. So this one's for Samson and Jacob. So what are your goals in karate, or what do you see yourself, what do you want to work towards, and what do you want to be able to do?
I just want to get better. That's what karate is for me, is just getting better at something. I don't allow myself to make mistakes much in life, but karate is one place I can make mistakes, and it's okay. But so I just fix those mistakes, and that's what karate is to me.
Yeah, Samson has a great point. It's about it's very personal growth type of. Okay, let me start over. It's the club is about personal growth, and so you focus on your own mistakes and
Set
you move your body in a certain way. But at the same time, you can kind of use the belt progression as a goal.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I recently gained another brown belt rank, and so I've got my eyes set on what I need to do to improve myself in order to test for a black belt.
Okay.
And so that's my goal right now.
So, if Jacob is grabbing me, first thing I'm going to think of is where are his fingers. On this side, we have his one thumb. On this side, we have his 4 fingers. So it's going to be a lot easier to pull against that thumb instead of pulling against his fingers. He's going to be able to hold on a lot better. Go ahead and squeeze as hard as you can. Typically, we either go down into the hip or up into the shoulder. It's whatever's comfortable for people. I like to go to the hip, but you pull as fast as you can and as hard as you can. There's other ones where if I don't really want to pull, I can turn over and I can grab his hand. And then it's kind of a strength competition, but I'm on top, thus I can keep twisting and he'll eventually let go because his hand is now open. There's other things that we can also do. If he grabs and I really, really don't like him, I can turn his hand over and I can hit his hand. When we do this in real life, we'll hit hard. Here, I don't really want to hurt Jacob, he's my student, but we would hit on the top of the hand and it'll reflexively open a little bit. But if it doesn't, you grab his wrist, preferably the meaty part of his hand, and you just kind of pull away. And now I have control of him. So if I want to, I can hit him in the ribs with his own elbow. I can punch him in the face. I can elbow him in the face. Plenty of things that we can do. We can also go into throws from here, but they're not mats, so I don't feel like throwing him today. There are other ones as well. If he's grabbing me with both hands and he's really, really tough, I do almost the same premise as a different one where I squeeze my hands together, but I still swing down, and it kind of throws him off balance. So after that, if you want, you can counter, you can hit him. You can do all sorts of fun things after you break out. But typically the response to breaking out is to run away because we don't want to be near them anymore.
Not looking for a fight.
Yes.
We're looking to protect ourselves.
We're looking to only protect ourselves, but if they continue fighting, just end the fight. That's typically what we go for.
So, okay, how do we take our stance before we start doing kata?
So typically we stand in what we call heikodachi, which your feet are one shoulder width wide, straight ahead. Your hands are about here or here. It depends on what lineage of kata we're doing. You want your shoulders straight, chin slightly tucked, and eyes forward. If we're actually prepping for the kata, we'll have our feet together, we'll bow, and then we'll go to that stance, and our hands will be in the middle, one fist away. This is to protect our groin. If somebody's about to kick up, we can drop down with our fists. But typically we stand this way for our kihon waza as well,
Okay.
our basic strikes and blocks.
All right, and so what's the first step?
The first step for Taikyoku Shodan.
Or just how we change our stance.
So how you change your stance for Taikyoku Shodan, you'll take your left leg and go into what we call Zenkutsudachi to your left. Zenkutsudachi is a forward-leaning stance where you're two shoulder widths long, one wide,
Okay.
but we'll step to the left and we'll do a Gedanbarai, a lower block over top of our knee. So we'll start here with your left hand up and drop it over top of your knee. You want to turn it down. You're swinging at a kick that someone is doing. So I'm kicking here and you're sweeping my leg out of the way.
Oh, okay, so there's a purpose. Every movement,
Yes.
you're imagining an opponent.
Yes.
Okay.
Taikyoku Shodan is mostly just Gedanbarais and punches. So the next move, we will step through and punch to the torso in Zenkutsudachi. Then we will do a fun little turn where we step this leg all the way around into Zenkutsudachi, Gedanbarai. And this is a lower block, so you want to make sure that it's here. And yet again, step through punch. Good. Now we're going to turn to our left and we're going to go forward with a Gedanbarai. Lower block with your left hand. Typically in our Taikyoku kata, whichever leg is forward is also the arm that's forward.
Okay.
It changes up when we get to more advanced kata. The next three steps are all punches. On the third one we have a kiai. It's a short little shout where you tighten your diaphragm.
Mm-hmm.
That'll make it so that you can hit slightly harder. Okay, so each will step forward once, punch. Knee will step forward twice, punch. San will step forward and kiai. Sai!
Hi.
Good. Taikyoku Shodan.
Okay, we present to you Taikyoku Shodan.
Yes. This Taikyoku Shodan.
Taikyoku Shodan.
Right. Sai! Sai!
Nice. So that was the very first
Yeah.
kata you learned. How long does it take to learn?
About a week, but we still teach it to people afterwards because we want to make sure that they remember it. The basics are important.
Okay. And when are your practices and where are they at?
Our practices are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m., room S511 in the field house. Then we have practice Saturday at 10 a.m. we do Kobudo, and at 11 a.m. we do KarateDo. Same room in the field house.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming, guys.
Thank you.